welcome to Sports Khabri. With me are Rishi and Adi. And guys, the Euros again are underway. England have played their first game. The talk is around. There's a lot of talk around England, how they played, and whether they should have probably not gotten all 3 points from that game, or whether there could have been changes to the lineups that Gareth Southgate could have made. But the big news is actually surrounding Jude Bellingham, like it always is when it comes to him. He was the goal scorer for England, and effectively it was him. Or it was he who earned his team all 3 points on the night. And there's been a lot of talk about Jude Bellingham this season because of his performance for Real Madrid, the fact that he's done well there, and then he's got praise from a lot of people, not just Real Madrid teammates, not just people associated with the club, but from people elsewhere as well. People who've never managed him. For example, Jose Mourinho recently said he's the best young player in the world. So there's a lot of talk about his mentality, his work ethic, his commitment, and you can say that he is sort of sort of becoming that kind of leader figure, not only for England but for Real Madrid as well, and can really see in the way that he strides on the pitch and the way he glides across it. And Rishi, that begs the question: Is Jude Bellingham ever going to become England captain? Of course, Harry Kane is coming towards the final leg of his career, and yeah, there's a question about who England's next sort of long-term captain could be. And is Jude Bellingham a good shout for you?
I mean, I don't see a reason why he can't be, at least in one of the two or three options to be considered as a captain, because he's still 20. Keep in mind that we're having serious conversations about him, and he's still 20. It's his first season with Real Madrid. He's been in the fray of senior football from a long time. He's played around 130 to 140 games for Dortmund. That's no small feat, and he's still a child, and we're pretty much having conversations of his potential of being a captain of a very prominent national team, not just any national team, and potential captain for arguably the biggest club in the world. So I think the fact that he's still up for contention is itself a very big achievement for him. And there has been a lot of talk about Jude Bellingham, both positive and negative, about his performances, his style of play, his contributions. I feel, and how much he affects the games. You can say, like, there are a lot of arguments that he doesn't contribute as much in the midfield. His, direct contributions come like in games where he doesn't affect the games, in the sense that there are occasions where if he doesn't score a goal or provide one of those key contributions, that he's completely absent from the game. That's one of the sticks that people have used to beat Bellingham with. And I mean, that kind of works both ways, like you see him in knockout games, that can be a very big contributing factor. You see, okay, he doesn't have a huge contribution, but he comes up with a goal or an assist in a clutch moment. It can turn a tie on its head. So, and you see, he is a sure shot player who's going to play for the national team at least for the next 10 years. You can say that. I don't know how many other players you can say that about in the current, at least, English setup. You see, Phil Foden keeps coming here and there. He's not a definite starter. Like, who else can you say? Like, maybe Declan Rice is in the fray to start each and every game. Maybe Bukayo Saka starts. Other than that, how many players will actually be a definite starter? I think that also begs the question. So, considering all these, I don't see a reason why he should not be considered as a captain material.
Yeah. Adi, any signs for you from Jude Bellingham for captaincy, at least for England?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, when we talk about captains, right, we have to see what kind of captains have been there in the past of England. Like, whenever you look at England, they've always generally give their best player the captainship. So, previously also, in terms of before Kane, you can say Jordan Henderson was one of the only captains where, like, in terms of to be fair, even when Jordan Henderson was the captain, he had that pure leadership. That's what I mean. In terms
Yeah,
of
yeah,
Kane,
that is there, but he was never the best player.
he's a guy who leads from the front in terms of,
Yeah,
as a captain. He's been the captain for Spurs and for England. What he does is based on his performances, right? And then you look at that previously in terms of players like Henderson, who is a very vocal captain. He's a guy who's always been consistent throughout his career in terms of play. Always injury free. Was always there for his club. Always there for his national team. Also very vocal kind of player. If you go previously before that, you have players like Rooney, who's again a guy who was both vocal and his talent. His talent spoke on the pitch. And you come back to Jude Bellingham, he's the kind of guy who has both talent and the leadership, that fight, the desire, right? You can see him; he's very energetic. You watch him yesterday. I watched him yesterday. He was playing. He was the only one who was very energetic. He was giving energy to the fans in the field. He does that even with Real Madrid. He's a very energetic guy. He's very expressive in his emotions, and also his talent is there. I can't deny in terms of goal scoring and poaching in the D. He's
yeah,
become one of the more prominent players, especially at a very young age of 20, scoring 23 goals for Real Madrid already, and scoring 19 goals and being one of the top scorers in La Liga. He's become a sort of poacher kind of midfielder where he come and pick up late runs and score goals. But again, we have to talk about Bellingham long term. Like, does he stay full fit for the 90 minutes and play 90 minutes? Whenever you look at England, even yesterday, when it was looking tough, and when they were leading 1-0 last 20-25 minutes, when Serbia was putting full on pressure, Southgate took out Bellingham, right? If you want a captain to be, always a captain needs to play the entire 90 minutes, at least generally whenever we look at the great sides. For example, again, going back to England, previously, would you take out Rooney in such a crucial position? I don't think so. You wouldn't even take out Henderson in his own time, right? And again, when you come to Kane, you can't take him out in these crucial moments. So it would be weird if you're taking out your captain in these crucial moments, especially. I think it's been like, I can think that especially with England, it can happen more often than Real Madrid, maybe because Real Madrid is, you always get a set 11. But with Southgate, at least for the near future, whenever he's there, I don't think Bellingham finishes all the games. Even in the future, maybe he might not. It depends on his role he's going to play. But for me, I don't know. In terms of, again, leadership, in my opinion, he's not there yet. Maybe in the future, again, as Rishi said, can he be consistent playing 90 minutes every game for England? Will he be available? Will he not be injured? We never know. In terms of leadership, I think if he becomes a leader or one of the captains in that Real Madrid side, who's already an aging side, they're all growing old. They're older players. In terms of Nacho is leaving, Courtois will leave soon. Also, he's also at that age. Toni Kroos is retiring. Modric will also end up banging his boots maybe in the next season. So you see the core group going, and Real Madrid have a very young squad. So if by chance Bellingham's the captain of that team, he's the one who's going to lead them up front, then you can have a good case of saying, okay, if you're the captain of, so-called the best club in the world with Real Madrid, I think you make a better case of being the captain for England also.
yep, exactly. And but there is the argument that it's probably Declan Rice next in line, Rishi, because he on his 50th appearance he earned captaincy in a game that Bellingham played. So does that not indicate the fact that it's probably not going to be him, or anything can happen because it's I mean it was just one game.
I mean, it makes a lot more sense for someone like Declan Rice to be the captain next year. Dude, Bellingham is still 20. He has at least,
Yeah,
like, for sure, if he keeps himself injury free, he has at least 10 years with the England side. And who knows, if he can prolong his career anywhere between 10 to say 15, 16 years. We're talking till he is at least 35. He can play in midfield. And considering that he is midfield, an attacking midfielder right now, you see how the experienced players, they usually tend to go, like, you see the Paul Scholeses, you see the Wayne Rooney's, they've all not regressed, they've all gone from much more front of the pitch to, being dropping back to, say, Rooney started off as a striker, and then you see he could move back and back to a number 10 and then to a midfielder. Same with Paul Scholes. He started off as a second striker, then became a 10, and then became almost like a holding midfielder. So he progresses. I mean, he if he takes care of himself and he elongates his career, I don't see why he cannot play for another 15 years. That means he is going to outlast someone like Declan Rice, who's also older than him.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and like Adi said, if he can keep himself injury free, if he can stay on the pitch for a longer time, of course, Declan Rice is in line, and it would only make sense that he is in line for the next immediate captaincy. But I don't see why he is a clear cut shout, dude. Like, okay, Rice is gonna be there for another 7 6 7 years. After that, he's gonna start rotating, and then you see he right now he's almost an established starter for England at the age of 20. And
Yeah.
the last time someone did that was, say, someone like Rooney, like a David Beckham. You see, like I think there is pretty much a pattern as to how, and it also comes down to how much of experience do you have at that stage. Like Bellingham scored his first Euro goal in his first Euro start at the age of 20. So by the time he is 26, he is 27, he's going to have a lot more, not just England caps, relevant England caps. Like, he's going to have played at least 2 Euros, at least 2 World Cups. So him already being at that stage, him already having competed at that stage, and like Adi said, he's going to probably be, even if not in the outright Real Madrid captain, he's going to be one of the captains. He's going to be part of the leadership setup. So I think that also launches him and keeps him at a much better chance of being captain than anything else.
Hey, incredible at his age, what and all he's achieved. He's already, by the way, the third. He's the youngest player to have played three major tournaments, to have appeared in three major tournaments. Of course, it being Euro 2020 and then the World Cup and now. So yeah, crazy, and he's over for that record. He overtook Michael Owen and Cristiano Ronaldo. But again, coming back to the Rice, I think Rice is probably the only sort of major factor in Bellingham's way to becoming captain, Adi, because if Rice is 24, he's not insanely old. He's 24, and if Rice can stay fit for the next 10 years, do you think England would move away from him being captain? Because if Rice continues to perform like the way he is, and he establishes himself as that sure shot player who will play consistently for a long time, then I think it could just end up being Rice. I think that's the only thing that would make me say, okay, Bellingham will not become captain because Declan Rice is going to be there for a long time.
Dude, that's the thing. I mean, firstly, Rice, just turned 25 years this year. So
Yeah, 25.
you can think he has another. Generally, if you give him, be generous and give him another 10 years in the national
Yeah.
squad also, he'll reach around 35. And that by that time, even Bellingham could be 30. I mean, we're talking a long stretch, we can't really predict that. But again, we have to go back to the short term, maybe looking at the next 4 years. You can I mean, if you talk about player stature, you can put Declan Rice, Bellingham, all these guys in the same category of the leadership group, because at the end of the day, England will always have one captain, but then you have two, three other vice captains, right? Like how they're doing right now, with Kane being the captain, then you have Kyle Walker, Trippier, and Rice being the vice captains. So maybe in the future it's going to be Declan Rice as a captain, and then you have a co-group of the youngsters being the vice captain. Maybe it's going to be Pickford, maybe it's going to be Bellingham, maybe Saka or someone else. I don't know how long these players will last, like, in terms of Walker, Trippier, etc. Right? So you might have like these players being, the sure group leaders, because by the next 3 4 years, I think these guys will have a lot of caps under their belt, especially Bellingham, Rice, Saka, also Pickford, because he'll end up becoming the next player playing the longest time. So I actually think when looking at that, Bellingham again in terms of leadership group, he can push towards that. But again, if you want to ask me personally, I would let Bellingham just be the player of the team, because again, when you have captains in your team, especially your national side, you firstly would like to have players who are gonna start surely in terms of finish the 90 minutes. Bellingham hasn't reached there yet, and there is no guarantee in the future he is going to reach there because of the profile of the player itself. You take Kane out, then maybe Bellingham becomes the so-called striker of the England team. Then maybe you can see him lasting the 90 minutes, because taking out Kane, if you look at the striker group also, I don't think players like Watkins, Tony, uh, or anyone coming in the future like Solanke will end up becoming the shortstop number 9. So maybe if
Correct.
Bellingham pushed up as a number 9 and start playing that Kane role, which we'll have to see how he takes it forward, then you can see him having a better chance of lasting 90 minutes. That's firstly. Secondly, he's still a bit not mature there or still there yet to be the captain and leading a team. You can say he has a lot of energy, he has a lot of passion, aggression also. But whenever I look at captains, especially whenever I look at the great sides, great captains, they're not guys who are just gonna go shout at every player in terms of go for a fight, have a tussle. You look at Bellingham, he's always
Yeah,
sliding,
he gave
always pulling someone's
Kostic
face.
a nudge yesterday also.
Exactly. It was
Yeah, which was
unnecessary.
very unnecessary.
On
Very
another
unnecessary.
day, just you can also there's a chance of being sent off. I mean, yesterday Kostic was not looking for a dive, he stood, continued.
Yeah.
But those kind of aggression, these small things, is something I personally don't like as a captain. I like a guy who's always going to be surely there in the team, be calm, collected, take the players up when they're feeling the pressure. Uh, at a point of time, England yesterday had, in the second half especially, like there were 2-3 instances where they tried to pass, they gave the ball to Serbia. Serbia just, overloaded their entire final third and put 2-3 crosses where England were not able to play from the back and had 2-3 not shots exactly but pressure in the final third. And that time you could see players like Bellingham, Foden just put their head down and they just move forward. And the only two players who were like trying to take care of the team was Pickford once trying to calm the defense down, and Declan Rice also trying to calm the attack and midfield down. He was trying to tell stop, calm down, don't rush
Yeah.
it, just keep the ball for some time. Because every time they get the ball, they try to play it long towards the attackers, and they lost the ball, and then Serbia would just come to counter. And you see, these are situations where you want a captain to show what the next step is or like what to do in certain moments, especially in a tournament where if you're going 100% always like just okay, you make a mistake, put on the gas and move forward. You're always bound to make a mistake because again, I'm not saying that what Declan Rice did was out of the world and that's why England was able to play through it. But same way, if Bellingham was there, I'm just giving a hypothetical scenario where he turns back and he's like, okay, let's go again. And then you again go aggressive, try to play it long. You lose the ball and get back, hit on the counter. You can always find them maybe conceding a goal also. In terms of that, I need players who are more calm, try to understand, again, when we talk about leaderships, we talk about things like empathy. We talk about things like ensuring, all the players are, if a player is nervous, giving them confidence, etc. And truly, even I don't think Harry Kane does that as a captain. And if you
Yeah.
talk,
No, I've never seen him do it.
yeah, exactly. If you talk to me about right now, I wouldn't. As I said, Kane only being the captain is because he's the best player, senior figure, main man, etc. That's the reason he's the captain. But again, if you want me to give you captains or in the England squad, I would rather put someone in the midfield or defense. Someone like Pickford, maybe even Walker. Actually, not Walker to be fair, because he's a guy who also makes a lot of mistakes. But someone like Pickford or Declan Rice who's more vocal in the midfield or in the defense and gives confidence and calm, to the entire
Yeah,
team.
yeah, 100%, 100%. Rishi, is he your sure? I mean, if you like Adi said, he told you that he probably give it to somebody like a Pickford or a Rice, at least in this team. Do you think there's somebody else ahead of, say, like a Bellingham, who you would give it to as well?
I mean, right now, I are you speaking of right now or going forward?
Let's just say right now. I mean, today in this England team, if you really had to give it to somebody else other than Harry
Like,
Kane, who would you
for
give it to?
example, if Kane retires tomorrow, who knows?
Yeah.
Then who's the next captain?
If that's the case, I feel there are others like Adi said, like Declan Rice, like your Kieran Trippiers or your Jordan Pickfords, who you can immediately look forward to. Because again, Bellingham's still 20. He has a long way to go. He's not going anywhere from the setup. So I don't. And there are, I feel, much more mature players than him. Like, although they may not be as high profile, I feel there are players who are more mature and who can handle the captaincy and be more of a guiding figure than him right now. And just to mention about what Adi said about the players being, like him being calm and him being or him being a little bit of on the passionate side. I think that is something that comes with experience and that comes with getting more minutes under your belt. You see, the even to bring forth cases of ex-captains like Rooney, like David Beckham. Both of them got sent off in their earlier stages of England careers for in crucial games because they did something. Either they did something that was really unnecessary or uncalled for, or them being caught up in an incident which was created by a player getting into your head or getting under your skin. Like you see, Ronaldo got under the skin of Rooney, and then Simeone got under the skin of David Beckham. Like you see, if they were a bit more matured in their a bit more matured stages of their career, I feel they would have avoided that. And that comes a lot with experience, with having seen the uglier side of the game, which ultimately comes down to having played under different circumstances. That isn't something you can get as a 20-year-old or even as a 21, 22-year-old. That only comes with games. And I feel the player in itself would tend to, take up more responsibility, behave or conduct himself a little bit more maturely once he gets the captain's armband. That is one way to go. And I feel I've seen that trend in Rooney, in Beckham. So I feel that is surely one way to go. And another way is that if you are playing as a striker or as a number 10, someone who has that passionate or that charisma about him, you see players like Ronaldo, they are also another type of captain. Of course, he wouldn't be someone who would like ask you to calm things down and who wouldn't be the bigger person per se, but he is someone who would lead by example, who would someone who tends to inspire a squad, if you may. So once you are a little bit more experienced, I don't see why having that passionate side is also a negative, as long as you're not doing something that is very naive and getting yourself sent off or putting your side at a disadvantage side. I don't necessarily see, and we're not talking about club captaincy. I feel club captaincy and being captains for your national sides are two entirely different things. Like if you can turn up for your national sides in big moments like you see a Ronaldo does, I feel that will also be valued in its own way, and not just being like, you don't have to necessarily be the best player on the pitch, but that is sure one way to go as well. You can't entirely write it off.
Okay, fair enough. I think the general consensus is that probably not right now, Jude Bellingham. I think Declan Rice is probably a little ahead. Even we mentioned Jordan Pickford as well. But maybe in the years to come, Bellingham could become that figure. And I think of course he's with age. You expect him to mature. I think you expect most footballers to mature as the years go by. Yeah, that's pretty much that. So the expectations from us is that he will become England captain at some point in his career. So yeah, thanks Rishi and Adi for joining in. Everybody watching, please do let us know whether you think Jude Bellingham will become captain in the future, or whether you think he could become the next England captain. Yeah, do leave your thoughts and like and share the video, subscribe to Sports Kabri. See you soon.